In July 2024, an Australian mining survey team conducting geological scans in the remote outback of South Australia detected something impossible on their ground-penetrating radar. 680 kilometers northwest of Adelaide, in one of the driest and most desolate regions on Earth, structural patterns appeared buried beneath red desert sand, concrete foundations and underground chambers that shouldn't exist in uninhabited wilderness. When engineers excavated the site, they found something that made the Australian Federal Police seal off the entire area within hours. A concrete compound built into the desert floor, complete with underground living quarters, a communications center, and storage bunkers, all perfectly camouflaged by 78 years of wind-blown sand and desert vegetation. Inside the main command room, Luftwaffe strategic planning documents dated April 1945, long-range radio equipment, encrypted operational logs, and a name painted on a steel locker. General Major Ernst von Hessler, Luftwaffe High Command. Von Hessler was a Luftwaffe general and strategic planner who'd vanished from Berlin in late April 1945. His death certificate, signed by Soviet occupation authorities, listed him as killed during the fall of the city. His name appeared on Allied war crimes lists. His family was told he'd been executed. The case was closed. But the Outback facility tells a different story. That mining team had just discovered a fully operational compound built in the late 1940s, positioned in one of Earth's most remote locations, over 20,000 kilometers from Berlin, clearly designed for someone who wanted to disappear completely and never be found. If you want to see what investigators uncovered about von Hessler's real mission, and why Allied intelligence suspected high-ranking German officers had fled to Australia's interior for decades after the war, hit that like button. It helps us bring more forgotten World War II stories to light. And subscribe if you haven't already, because what we found in the facility's sealed vault will reveal a network of former Luftwaffe officers who'd been operating from the most isolated location they could find for purposes investigators are still trying to understand. Now, back to April 1945, when a Luftwaffe general received orders that would take him to the other side of the planet. Character introduction, 1:30 to 2:30. General Major Ernst von Hessler was 46 when the war ended. A career Luftwaffe officer since 1935, von Hessler specialized in strategic planning and logistics, coordinating air operations, managing supply lines, and analyzing Allied capabilities. Unlike combat pilots who earned headlines, von Hessler's war was fought with maps, intelligence reports, and strategic assessments. By 1943, he served on Luftwaffe High Command staff in Berlin, advising on operational planning as Germany's strategic situation deteriorated. What made von Hessler unique was his global perspective. Before the war, he'd traveled extensively, including a 1938 visit to Australia as part of a German trade delegation studying wool exports. That brief visit showed him something most Germans never saw: vast empty spaces where someone could disappear completely. Von Hessler spoke fluent English, having studied at Oxford for 6 months in 1933. He understood Anglo-Saxon culture and could pass as British if necessary, critical skills for someone planning to escape to English-speaking territory. By late 1944, von Hessler recognized Germany's defeat was inevitable. His strategic planning expertise told him exactly how bad the situation was. He began preparing for a future after the Third Reich collapsed. Between November 1944 and April 1945, von Hessler diverted Luftwaffe funds, secured survival equipment, and established contact with German expatriates in Australia who'd settled there in the 1930s. He was planning the most audacious escape of all, fleeing to the most remote inhabited continent on Earth. Historical context: 2:30 to 3 o'clock, April 1945. Berlin was encircled. Soviet forces advanced street by street. The city faced complete destruction. For Luftwaffe officers in the final bunkers, options were surrender, suicide, or escape, and escape opportunities were vanishing rapidly. Von Hessler's position made him vulnerable. His role in strategic planning meant involvement in decisions about bombing campaigns, resource allocation, and operational priorities. Allied prosecutors would consider him complicit in total war policies. Australia's situation was unique, geographically isolated, with vast uninhabited interior and small population concentrated on coasts, the outback offered perfect concealment. The Australian government focused post-war attention on European immigration programs, not searching desert wasteland for Nazi fugitives. The outback itself, 3 million square kilometers of desert, scrubland, and rock, was one of Earth's most hostile environments. Temperatures exceeding 50 degrees Celsius, minimal water, deadly wildlife. But for someone willing to endure hardship, it offered complete isolation. Von Hessler understood survival in extreme environments from Luftwaffe operations in North Africa and the Eastern Front. He knew what would be required to build and maintain a desert facility. The challenge excited rather than deterred him. The escape, 3 o'clock to 4:15. April 23, 1945. Soviet forces reached Berlin's inner districts. Von Hessler activated his escape plan. April 25. A body was discovered in bombed Luftwaffe headquarters. The corpse wore von Hessler's uniform and identification. Soviet authorities processed it as General Major von Hessler, killed during final operations. Death certificate signed April 27. The body was a junior officer killed during Soviet shelling. Von Hessler had already left Berlin using false papers identifying him as Heinrich Müller, a Luftwaffe mechanic. May 1945. Von Hessler traveled west through collapsing German lines to Bavaria, then crossed into Switzerland using forged Red Cross documents. From Switzerland, the route was carefully planned to Genoa, Italy, then by cargo ship to Buenos Aires, posing as a Swiss mechanical engineer relocating for business. July 1945. Arrival in Buenos Aires. Argentine authorities, welcoming European technical expertise, stamped his Swiss passport without investigation. But Argentina was too visible. Too many Nazi fugitives attracting Allied attention. Von Hessler's destination was Australia, specifically the remote interior where German sheep station owners from the 1930s could provide initial support. September 1945. Von Hessler boarded a cargo vessel from Buenos Aires to Sydney, traveling as Hans Bergmann, German-Australian returning to family property. Australia, encouraging post-war immigration, processed arrivals with minimal scrutiny. October 1945. Von Hessler reached Adelaide, then traveled inland by truck, claiming to be surveying potential sheep grazing land. He hired local Aboriginal guides who knew the outback, paying them well to show him the most isolated locations. November 1945. Von Hessler identified his site, 680 kilometers northwest of Adelaide, in desert so remote that no settlements existed for 300 kilometers in any direction. Perfect. Building the facility 4:15 to 5:15. December 1945. March 1946. Using diverted Luftwaffe funds converted through Swiss banks, von Hessler hired Australian contractors through intermediaries. Cover story: building a remote mining survey station for a European company. Workers offered exceptional wages for desert work, asked few questions. Materials were transported by truck convoy: cement, steel, water tanks, fuel drums, survival equipment. The facility was built mostly underground to escape the brutal heat. The construction used techniques von Hessler had learned from Luftwaffe desert bases in North Africa: deep excavation, thick concrete insulation, ventilation systems designed for extreme temperatures. The compound consisted of 4 main sections: underground living quarters with sleeping area, kitchen, and climate-controlled storage, communications center with long-range radio equipment capable of reaching across the Pacific, workshop and maintenance area with tools and spare parts, and water storage system critical for desert survival with 50,000 liter capacity fed by a deep-bore well. April-June 1946. Von Hessler installed equipment, German radio gear, smuggled piece by piece, solar panels for supplemental power, cutting-edge technology in 1946, and extensive supplies for long-term isolation. July 1946. The facility became operational. Von Hessler had created something unprecedented, a self-sustaining compound in one of Earth's harshest environments, completely invisible and unreachable without precise coordinates. His logs reveal the purpose: maximum isolation ensures maximum security. The outback provides what Europe cannot: absolute solitude. I am beyond the reach of any authority. Von Hessler had built the ultimate hiding place, 20,000 kilometers from Berlin in a desert nobody searched. Life in the desert 515 to 615. August 1946. Von Hessler's log, facility operational. Temperature systems functioning. Water adequate. I am completely isolated. Von Hessler lived primarily at the facility, making quarterly Adelaide trips to locals. Hans Bergmann, eccentric German studying desert geology. Desert survival was brutal. Summer temperatures exceeded 45 degrees Celsius. Water conservation critical. The isolation was psychological torture. No human contact for months. January 1948. 2 years in the desert. I maintain the facility because I know no other purpose. Von Hessler had no mission beyond survival, simply wanting to disappear completely. March 1950. 5 years. The desert has become familiar. I am part of this emptiness now. June 1955. 10 years since war ended. I am 56. The desert is relentless, but I persist. December 1960. 15 years. The Outback keeps its secrets. I could die here and nobody would find me for decades. March 1968. Final entry. 23 years in the desert. AM 69. Health deteriorates. Perhaps future explorers will understand sometimes survival alone is purpose enough. After March 1968, logs end. The facility was sealed. The investigation 6:30 to 7:30. For 56 years the Outback facility sat undiscovered. Australia's interior remains largely uninhabited, too hot, too dry, too remote for settlement. Allied intelligence suspected some Germans fled to Australia. A 1947 report mentions possibility of Nazi fugitives in remote areas, but searches focused on coastal cities, not desert interior. In 1982, a geological survey aircraft detected unusual ground patterns in the region. Investigation found ancient Aboriginal stone arrangements. The survey missed the facility by 15 kilometers. July 2024. A mining company, exploring for rare earth minerals, conducted comprehensive ground-penetrating radar surveys. July 12. Survey technician Sarah Mitchell detected structural anomalies, too regular for natural formations, showing underground chambers. July 14th. Engineers investigated on-site. Initial excavation revealed concrete, military-grade construction buried under sand. July 16th. The entrance was exposed, a steel door camouflaged by sand accumulation but structurally intact. July 18th. Entry breached, interior remarkably preserved, underground construction and sealed climate control prevented deterioration, despite desert conditions. Command room, Luftwaffe documents, strategic maps, the radio equipment, living quarters, German books, personal effects, storage, supplies, tools, fuel drums. July 20th. Vault opened. Inside operational logs 1946 to 1968, survival records and the steel locker, General Major Ernst von Hessler, Luftwaffe Oberkommando. International news within 48 hours. The revelation 7:15 to 9 o'clock. Australian authorities assembled investigation team, historians, military experts, German archivists. The logs documented 23 years of desert survival. Forensic analysis confirmed authenticity. Cross-referencing with immigration records, investigators identified the German expatriate network that supported von Hessler. August 2024. Researchers found death record, Hans Bergmann, born 1899, von Hessler's birth year, died October 1984, buried West Terrace Cemetery. Occupation, geological consultant. He'd worked for mining companies 1969 to 1982. Analyzing desert terrain. Exhumation ordered. DNA compared with von Hessler's German descendants. September 2024 results. 9 Punkt. Act Prozent Zeichenmatch. Hans Bergmann was Ernst von Hessler. He'd lived at the facility until 1968, then moved to Adelaide and worked in mining consultation. Married an Australian woman in 1971. Had one daughter, now 53. To colleagues and family, quiet German consultant with desert knowledge. Nobody suspected. He died age 85. Peacefully, never exposed, never prosecuted. The site is now protected for historical study. Artifacts displayed at South Australian Museum. Exhibition, The Desert General, opened November 2024. Von Hessler's daughter, learning my father was a Luftwaffe general who lived 23 years in a secret bunker is incomprehensible. Ernst von Hessler fled 20,000 kilometers, survived 23 years in extreme isolation, then lived 16 more years as a respected Adelaide consultant. The facility still stands, concrete enduring in the desert. Australian engineers estimate it could last another century. Sometimes the guilty flee so far that even their existence is forgotten, surviving in places so hostile, nobody thinks to search, then dying peacefully as productive members of society.